When did you miss an obvious hint that someone wanted to have sexual relations with you? Walked into the wrong tent when at international scout camp. Naked girl lying there. Me. Sorry, I thought this was my tent. Go to leave. Her. It can be. You don't need to leave. Cue me realizing about a year after about my own crippling stupidity. So my best friend started joking about us frocking. I just went along with the jokes cause we're both really frocking weird and that's just our humor, I guess. A while later she told me a few times that we could try out dating and see what happens, and that if it fails that we'll just stay friends. It took me 3 weeks after she said that to realize what she meant. Now I'm dating her for almost half a year now and it's frocking amazing. I have many such stories. As a young man I seemed to always operate on the assumption that there was no way a girl could really be interested in me. The one that comes to mind is when I took a girl out in college. I dropped her off at her place and we kissed. She looked at me and said, "My roommate is gone for the weekend. I have the room all to myself." I replied, "You're lucky. I'm in a triple so I never have my room to myself. Well, good night." My 20s are so full of these it's not funny. If I could go back and tell my younger self that a girl sleeping in the same bed as you does not just mean she's mega comfortable with you. The best one, however, is when the girl I was utterly obsessed with said, "If you offered me 6 I don't think I'd be able to say no. I hate myself." Postscript. After some therapy and serious introspection for other reasons, it turns out I might actually have high-functioning autism. In the process of being assessed now. That would explain so much. We just got back from our first lunch date and both worked at Chipotle next to campus. I lived in the apartments above and had just a couple minutes to spare before my shift. Had to run upstairs quick to change and she asked if she could come with. And definitely had that look about her. I kind of knew what she meant at the time but had to be at work since I was on thin ice for some unrelated stuff. I kindly declined. Even as she persisted. And ran up and back down just in time to clock in. Like a Boy Scout. After that, vibes were definitely gone. I have Vietnam flashbacks to this day of what she must have thought. In university. Living in residence. Down in the first floor common area hanging out with friends. I'm giving a piggyback ride to a really cute girl. She. "Why don't you carry my up to my room?" Me. "Guys aren't allowed on the girls' floor." I give her another ride around the common room instead. Some girl asked me if I wanted to get drunk at her house and watch her do Pilates. I said no and realized my error when I got back home. I was a lifeguard in high school. Had a girl ask me if I could teach her, mouth to mouth, sometime, and winked at me. I told her she should just sign up for a first aid course. She. "Hey, do you want to have 6? Me. "Oh, I would love to. It's just hard to find a girl who likes me." True story. She was a coworker and we have the type of relationship where we can say frocked up sit and laugh about it. One time we were both on shift and I was about to leave. She asked what I was planning to do later. Me jokingly. "Probably go home and jerk off." Her in a softer voice. "Oh, did you need any help with that?" Me. "No thanks. I'm pretty good at it." At the time I really thought she was just playing into the conversation. Edit. I found out a long time later from one of her friends that she was serious and also really disappointed. I'm sorry. "Do you want to do it?" Haha. Sarah, don't tease me. Goes to bed. I don't know if this was necessarily sexual but it was definitely me missing an obvious sign. There was a very pretty girl that I was very interested in college. We had the same major so shared a lot of classes. One day she and I are talking and she says, "We should get together and study at my place. I can make dinner and everything." I replied with something like, "Oh, that'd be really nice and sounds like fun. Our class is small enough that we could probably invite everyone." She asked me if we can continue to talk in my bed, so I just kept talking in the bed LMAO. At least she was good listening. Posted before, but girl was running her hand through my hair telling me how soft it was and asking me how I did it. Proceeded to talk for like 5 minutes about TGE shampoo I was using till she cut me off to tell me she had been trying to flirt with me all night. Was my partner in science and business classes in high school. Invited me to her family's cabin for a weekend. Just her and me. I asked about a friend and she said no. Just the two of us. I never got back with her and kind of forgot about it until a couple years later when she pointed out the obvious. Oh yeah. Then there was also the coworker that I was working alone with on Valentine's Day who had just finalized her divorce and how it was her first Valentine's Day alone in a long time. When she came back from lunch she gave me one of those giant Hershey kisses and when I hugged her to thank her she kissed my neck. Then I smiled at her, apologized for not getting her anything, and got back to work. What I'm getting from this post is that even when girls blatantly state, "I want to have sex with you," us guys will still be oblivious and just take it as a joke. When I was about 18 I was sleeping over at the place of the girl I'd had a crush on for years. As I went to sleep on the couch she said, "You could sleep here in the bed if you want." Her bed. That she was currently in. I honestly have no idea what actually happened inside my brain at that point. But, no, the couch isn't so bad, is what it came up with. At a James Bond theme party, girl says to me, "You could be my Goldfinger and I could be your fussy galore." Me. Ha, good pun. A guy had been touchy for the whole night, stroking my thighs, my back. We were all hungry and drunk at that time and my apartment was nearby. Everything was closed, so he asked me to go to my place to get some food. My friend offered to accompany me, but he said he could do it instead. I didn't pick up the signs. He kept on trying to get some time alone, but I was too oblivious to realize. In high school I had $1 I was going to use for something food related. She snatched it and put it down her shirt and told me if I wanted it I would have to go get it. It was about 6 years later I recalled that moment and realized the missed opportunity. I mean, if I haven't realized it. A girl told me multiple times she thought of us like Eric and Donna from that 70s show. All my dumb teenage brain could think was, this is inaccurate. I don't smoke weed. Never mind that Eric and Donna were frocking for half of the show. At least, I think that's what she meant. Still not sure. Told this one before, but when my dad was young he was sitting outside with a girl after a party. She asked him if he wanted to go back to his place and make pancakes. He told her he was out of eggs. Once a girl I was acquainted with at the time sat on my lap at a party and stayed there for half an hour talking about her day and asking me questions. Then she left and my friends made fun of me for not picking up the advance. I thought she just couldn't find anywhere else to sit. Editing to add. She told my friend a few days later that I hurt her feelings by not being more receptive to her. She thought I was cold on purpose because I didn't like her. Back in college, I was jokingly complaining to a good friend of mine that I never get any love letters on Valentine's Day. She said, "Well, I know someone who is in love with you." I demanded her to tell me who and she turned bright red and wouldn't say anything else. Later that semester, she asked me out for coffee, so I agreed. We had a great time chatting about life and had a fun time, just like hanging out with any other friend. Weirdly, she stopped really speaking to me after that. There were many other encounters along those lines, but it took me about 3 years to realize that she had a huge crush on me and I was too much of an idiot to notice. I was at a party and this cute girl kept on finding reasons to talk to me the whole night. I just thought, wow, she's so friendly. And never picked up on the flirting. Toward the end of the night it's just the two of us alone and we get on the subject of injuries and surgeries. Turns out we both had to have hernia surgery, which involves an incision near the groin. At this point she says, "Actually, you can still feel the scar," and takes my hand and puts it down her pants. I told her that I could not feel the scar, and her doctor must have done a good job. She removed my hand and just walked away. Didn't hit me until I was driving home an hour later. I just assumed she was overly friendly and comfortable with her body. In short, drunk me manages to ignore thrown underwear. People used to crash over at my place all the time. Last house before a long road to the next town. Girl asked to stay over, which was normal and fine. I was locking up the house while she went up to my room. She already laid down in my bed, which was unusual but fine by me. Normally I would take one of the 2 mattresses of my bed for people to sleep on. Now here comes the kicker. This girl, while laying under the covers, tosses her underwear into the room while saying she wanted them to stay clean for the next morning. And my drunk ass goes, "Yup, that makes sense," and proceeds to grab a pajama and hand it to her. Drunk me is not a very bright man. Came back from a dinner with some friends in my car, one of which was my friend's sister. She clearly points me out and asks what I'm doing after and asks if I want to come hang out with her and have a couple drinks at her place. What do I say? No, that's okay. I'm going to go back and watch some Mulan. I wondered why everyone else in the car got really quiet after that. This beautiful girl invited me over. She was trashed and heartbroken, and I just wanted her to be happy. She was a friend. Ya know? I think the height of that evening was, "I'm wearing matching underwear." To which I replied, "Geez, so organized." At night, she climbs into bed and peeled the cover back. So, I picked up a stuffed animal on the floor thinking that's what she wanted, and I slept on the floor. Went out for drinks with a former coworker to catch up. I'm pretty sure at some point she straight up asked, "Do you want to have 6?" But it was so loud out I just kinda stared back and said, "I'm sorry. I couldn't hear you. The cars driving by are so frocking loud." She said it again, and again I couldn't hear. So I literally stood up and leaned over the table and said, "One more time, please." She changed topics. Still had a fun evening. Best friend. In high school kept saying things about the girl I had a crush on. 1. She's such a lucky girl. 2. She's an idiot for ignoring you. 3. She shouldn't lead you on like that. 4. I'd totally suck you off at every chance if I was her. 5. Her loss. She was right. My crush was an idiot. I was at a house party and flirting with this girl all night. She was honestly way cuter than me and a couple years older than me, as I was only like 21 or 22. Imagine the hot tattooed bartender type that all of us 21-year-old dudes think is out of their league. Towards the end of the night, She was about to walk home and asked if anyone could walk her home and then looked right at me, causing me to freeze and just kinda smile back at her for an awkwardly long time. Till her platonic friend she was at the party with was like, "It's 3 blocks away. I'll walk you home and come right back." Realized like 5 minutes later what would have probably happened had I walked her home. Given the coy way she grinned at me when asking, and that we had obviously been flirting a ton all night. Was at a party. Girl and her friend told me they wanted to show me around the house. They took me straight to the master bedroom, shoved me to the bed and proceeded to bite and wrestle me. Drunk me wrestled back like I was in the WWE or some shit. Not my story, but my buddy was once invited back to her place after the pub for coffee. When he got there she said that she didn't actually have any coffee, so he apologized for misunderstanding and left. Edit. I've never seen Seinfeld. I'm in the UK. I wasn't making a reference. This actually happened. Edit. It was apparently ice cream she offered. An acquaintance dressed in a 6 outfit that normal people notice walks up to me and we start chatting. Her. What's your family background? Where are they from? Me. Czech Republic. Her. I've never been with a Czech guy. Locks eyes with me and says, I'd like to try that. Me. You should. We're awesome. Edit. Wow. You fabulous freaks celebrating my complete idiocy have made my day. Upvotes. Awards. My first gold. Thanks kind strangers. I have won the interwebs. I was drunkenly asleep on a mate's sofa after a party. Then some naked girl climbs on top of me. I wake up and realize my bladder is about to explode. Excuse myself and gently push her aside. When I come back, I mumble to myself. Still half asleep. Huh. That sofa is way too small for 2 people. Then I go back to sleep on the other now empty sofa. My mate was quite amused telling me about it the next day. Virgin me was less amused. She said she wants to frock you. Really? Yeah. And this is the second time she said it. And when she said it this time she asked if I had been telling you what she was saying. When I said no she asked me to make sure that I did. Haha. She's so kooky. We did eventually end up dating. But JFC am I slow. Edit. Special thanks to my long lost sister, you. AHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHI'm sure the family reunions I don't attend will be so much brighter now that you found the rest of the OK family. Was 18. She was 19 making out on a couch at like 2 a.m. as the party was over and folks have left, passed out or split off to hook up, but there were 2 other couples in the room sleeping on the floor. She takes my hand and leads me to the bathroom, locks the door, looks me in the eye and says, if I said everything was a go right now, what would you do to me? Me. The nervous idiot. I dunno. Whatever you want. She asked me a second time. Emphasis on the word everything even more than the last. I muttered the same moronic response and she replied, you're just a boy. Then left. Like legit left the party. Drove away. That was 20 years ago and I'm happily married with a great life, but I'll never forgive myself for that one. She slept over and said she didn't have anything to sleep in. I offered her sweatpants and a t-shirt and left the room. Looking back we both laugh about it now. She and her sister went out with a group of us on a camping trip. I was up at 1 a.m. tending to the fire as I could not sleep when she stuck her head out of her tent and called me over. I entered her tent and she was naked in the doggy position looking for her phone and asked me to help her look for it. I ignored the fact she was naked. Didn't really even look at her and found her phone and handed it to her. She asked me to stay as I'm scared of the woods. And I flat out said, bull crap. You live in a cabin 8 miles into the woods. You're not scared. We are engaged now. Invited me to her place after a few drinks to see a movie. We take place in her bed, watch the full Rocky Horror Picture Show, while she desperately tried to get my attention. But hey, I don't want to look like a jerk who doesn't care about this movie she likes so much, right? Then when the movie has ended I show her this cool anime I was talking her about at the pub. She started crying of desperation. Guess it wasn't great for self-esteem. Over her seduction skills. At no point until then the idea of going the 6C dance route crossed my mind. We've been together for a little more than 4 years now. I'm still as dense from time to time. If I weren't drunk you'd already be naked. I got nervous. Lucked out and got a hot lab partner in college. Through the semester, she was friendly and nice. Smiled a lot and laughed at my jokes. That kind of thing. Towards finals week, she asked me to come over her place to study. We go to her room. And I notice a condom had been conspicuously left out on the bedside table. I mentioned this to her and she says, yeah, I haven't had sex in a while. I think to myself, while literally sitting on her bed. Interesting. She should have no problem getting guys in her bed. Oh well. I proceed to move on to the next chapter in the study guide and then go home not long after. Only later did I realize how stupid I truly am. Once I was at a party. This girl started to pick up conversation with me and at one point she said, do you want to go outside? There is a lot of people here. To what I said. Nah, there's cake here. I like cake. I just stayed there all night eating cake and I don't regret it. After a long date, car ride. I took her home and she asked if I wanted to see her apartment. She had a cool attic space she lived in, reached by ladders and stairs up to the townhouse's roof. She gave me the 30-second tour and I honestly thought it was so cool. After we sat on her bed for a few minutes and the awkward silence started to fill the room, I finally took the hint. It was late and she was hoping I'd leave soon. So I saw myself out before I'd inconvenience her. It wasn't until several years later that I replayed that date in my mind and realized how oblivious I was. They told me they wanted me to frock them and I replied, lol. When I was 20 I was really close friends with this girl who was scorching hot and a virgin. We were chilling in my bedroom in my apartment and she asked me if I can show her how to make love. I proceeded to grab a pillow and demonstrate. I lie awake at night sometimes in a cringe ball wanting to die. I was watching a movie with a fairly new friend at her house. We're both female. Suddenly she started telling me about this girl she had hooked up with and all the details of that, which was fine. Up until then I thought she was straight, so it was just slightly surprising. But then she started questioning me if I had ever slept with a girl. Would I ever want to sleep with a girl? Etc. I basically just said, never really thought about it I guess, and went back to watching my movie. I didn't clue in then, but a few years later I suddenly remembered the conversation and wondered if she was hitting on me. Or maybe I think too highly of myself and it really was just innocent. My friend had a crush on a girl at university. At his house party, she made it pretty apparent she had an interest in him too. When we all left for the night, she stayed with him because she didn't know where her keys were. So the group left them for the night and caught up in the morning. After we left, he found her keys for her and offered to get her a taxi home. When she said she was too tired to get home, he helped her get into his bed. She took off her dress. He covered her with the blanket and went to sleep on the sofa. He thought he was being respectful. I think she has mental trauma from the rejection. My GF is pretty skinny, so I always joked that she was 80 pounds soaking wet. Before I knew she liked me, she would respond, well now I'm 90 pounds. Took me at least 10 times of her saying that for me to make the connection that she was saying she was wet. Yes, eventually I got the hint, haha what a stupid man I was. Recently I took my niece to get a haircut and the hairstylist gave me her number. I asked her if it was for appointments. Later I realized she was hitting on me when my niece pointed out that she was staring at me while I was getting ready to pay. I am pretty oblivious when it comes to getting hit on. Mostly because I don't find myself attractive but also because it's a pretty uncommon thing to have women make the first move. As a woman I would just like to say the number of respectful gestures I've read here of guys tucking women in because you're unsure or she is intoxicated warms my heart. I hope you get fussy thrown at you the rest of your life. I was at a small dance club with some coworkers. I wasn't too drunk but was feeling good. Girl comes up to me and says, "Are you gay? Is this a gay bar? Every guy I've talked to here is gay." Now, there was a gay club and a gay bar within 5 minutes walk. So I said I wasn't gay, but I told her where they were. She looked disappointed and then was dragged away by her friend. TBH, I'm not completely sure it was actually an attempt at a pickup. But it was such a weird experience that I can only figure that's what she was doing and was drunk enough that she frocked up the execution of. I need a straight guy right now. We went back to her place and she proceeded to start playfully wrestling with me. After a few minutes she says she needs to get ready for bed and I ask if I should leave. She says, "No, you can stay." So she changes into underwear and a tiny t-shirt and then playfully tackles me on her bed and we start to wrestle a bit more. And I never make a move. Eventually she tells me she's getting tired. So I call an Uber and leave. Here's the thing. Earlier in the night she told me about a friend of hers that was recently assaulted by a guy on a date when they went back to her house. So, in the back of my mind all I kept thinking to myself was, unless she makes it super obvious, do not make the first move. Perhaps it was super obvious. This smoking hot girl at a house party. We were dancing and high on Molly. We were dancing super close to each other. After a while, it's just the two of us. She comes closer and whispers in my ear if I can keep a secret between the two of us. I was like, yeah. So she puts her hands around my neck and dances really close, pushing her hips into mine. I just thought that was the secret. She revealed to me weeks later that she wanted to have sex with me. Back in high school my friend said she would literally suck my dig if I helped her with her essay, but I thought she was joking. The same friend also tried taking off my pants when we were backstage after a concert band performance. But I had a belt on and was more confused than anything and assumed it was a joke. Another time she stuck her hand up my shirt and felt my muscles when we were at band practice. But I once again assumed she was joking because she always did sexual stuff like that and laughed it off later. Later on she confessed to me at a party and I was like, oh frock. She placed her hand near my crotch 2 times but I moved it and kept telling her about the home worlds of different Ben 10 aliens. She wanted to take a nap. At like 3 in the morning after we had been chilling, we laid down, she cuddled up on me and I took a nap. Teenage me has some lost opportunities on his resume lol. Very cute. Very cool girl I would walk to high school with wrote, "I want you in my pants." In my yearbook along with a suggestive smiley face. I just thought that's just something girls do. I was a virgin at the time. It still wakes me up at night. We, coincidentally, got onto the subject of kissing, and I mentioned that I'd never been kissed. She then flat out offered to kiss me and I still didn't pick up on it. Had a girl message me, "God, I just got all this new lingerie, and I don't know if it looks good." And me thinking no one could ever find me attractive immediately responded with, "Good thing you have a roommate." She never texted me again. And I don't blame her at all. Never? When I was a server, a girl I used to work with always call me Quite, and would always ask why I'm still single. On day she came into work and told me she had a dream that me and her were having hardcore sex. I was weirded out at how specific she was with this story at the time. I won't go into details. If that wasn't a sign. She gave me her number after that story. She was fired a couple days later and I never texted her. I saw her on Facebook not too long ago and she's engaged. I'm so sorry, Colleen. I was once in a girl's bedroom closet with her while she wore nothing but a bathrobe. I was very sexually timid back then. And I kicked myself very hard. Very often. Very recently avoid letting that one slip away. Was chatting with a cute girl in one of my college classes. At the end of class she asks if I want to come back to her dorm to eat some tacos. I thought it was a very random thing to ask, but just figured she was really hungry and liked tacos. I said no thanks. I wasn't hungry. A few years later it hit me when taking a shower. I still think about missing out on that taco 25 years later. These threads are physically painful to me. A girl I'd been chummy with came up to me after youth group and wanted to talk. "Can we go somewhere?" We had been at the pizza place for a half hour talking about her recent breakup with one of my friends. All the while I was trying to put them back together. At last she said, "I don't want to be back with him. It's a jerk." Slowly, very slowly the idea dawned in my brain that this girl I'd been harmlessly flirting with for so many months had something more on her mind. We were married a few months later, and we've been together for almost 41 years. So, I guess, I didn't actually miss the hint, but it took a long time to see it. Not me but a friend, cause I am not this dumb. A girl was running her hand across his thighs below the table where our friend group was sitting at. Even made eye contact with her. I asked him what did he think she wanted. He said, "I thought she just liked the feel of my new jeans." WHAAAATTT? She literally showed me a video of her touching herself. I was 14 to 15 and just thought about League of Legends and Rust. Was about 16. Was dyeing my hair at a friend's house. One of her friends was in the basement with me while it set. There was a big laundry sink that I was going to use instead of the bath or shower. I read the instructions and they said I have to wait 30 minutes or something, and the friend's friend was acting as seductively as a 16-year-old girl could. Dropped a strap of her tank top and said, "What are you waiting for?" I said, "About 16 minutes. She went upstairs. This is probably gonna get buried. But here goes. First time dating my now GF, we were on her bed playing strip poker. She was way better than me, but lost a lot of games at the end. It culminates with us both on her bed, naked, with an empty house. I didn't clue in until 2 years later, when she explicitly told me what she'd been trying to do. I was hanging out with my crush a lot and she said, "Oh, my roommates think we go on dates all the time," while laying in my bed, so of course I said, "Oh, that's weird," and left it at that. 2 hours later I realized I was an idiot. Once after a first date I walked this girl to the end of her street, which was like a 10 minutes bike ride from my place. When we got there I told her that I needed to head the other way to get home. She told me I could sleep at her place if mine was still far away. I told her nah, it's only 10 minutes from here, hopped on my bike, told her goodbye and proceeded to head home. It dawned on me what I did 5 minutes after I got home. When I was younger I was hanging out with an older girl, we watched a few movies, hung out all night. I spent the night, we woke up and she was like, "WTF, why are you sleeping here and not even frocking me?" I was like, oh damn, that was an option? I have very soft velvety skin from Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and mentioned this, and a girl essentially started groping my arm up and down, remarking on how soft the skin was. I thought she just found my health condition interesting. Didn't realize until some time later. Girl in college wanted to watch a movie. I ended up watching the whole movie. I got the last laugh though as I found out she was pregnant a couple months later. About 10 years too late. There was a cute girl in math class that had a beautiful friend, so I would always ask cute girl about beautiful girl. Cute girl was always nice and we talked a lot. Then on Valentine's Day she got me a balloon. I just thought, huh, that's kinda weird. I put 2 and 2 about 10 years later with the additional realization that cute girl was also beautiful. I was just too focused on her friend to see it. Came home on leave, ran into someone I haven't seen since junior high when I switched schools. It was at a bar and been drinking, and after the pleasantries, she puts her hand on my chest and rubs it gently while telling me, "Look at you, all grown up in those muscles." I was a chubby later bloomer. Anyway, yeah, I missed it. Took the compliment and didn't even realize until next morning. This cute girl I worked with kept making really flattering compliments about my eyes and hair and other physical attributes. Then one day she said point blank to me, "I hate it when guys don't get the hint that I'm flirting with them or that I have a crush on them." To which my dumbass responded, "Yeah, that's probably really annoying." Crickets. A friend's hot sister and I had been chatting continually for a few weeks. After a rave, we were all hanging out at her parents' place waiting for the impending doom of daylight to crack through the windows. When she says, "I can't get comfortable here. I'm going to lie in my bed." I was like, "Yep, CYA." A week later she told me over MSN chat she lay in her bed for an hour just waiting for me to walk in. I never did. Multiple guys have asked me out on date, but I thought it was a joke and laughed it off. Of course I realized months, years after it had happened. Her. "Are you DTF?" Me not knowing slang. I have no idea what that means. Walks away with a smile. She invited me over to her house, but I said I had to fold my laundry. So thorny, she came to my house to help me fold laundry. I said, "Thank you. See you later." And she just started taking off her clothes. That's when I realized she really didn't actually want to come over to help me fold all my laundry. We were hanging out in my room. She was watching me play EverQuest. She reached down for my crotch and I smacked her hand away and said, "What the hell?" She promptly left, and then it hit me, but I was in a good XP group and was trying to get through a damn hell level. Shared a house alone with a really attractive girl at university as my academic years was longer than most. Paramedic student. She used to tell me how she wanted to sleep around more as she had only had one previous partner and used to come into my room all the time to chill in her PJs. Someone please build a time machine already.